Hello, everybody. This is Ketchup, and today is a special day. The Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection does indeed come out very, very soon, and I've been fortunate enough to be granted a early access version that allows me to show you a little bit of what's in store. I have messed around with this a fair amount, and as this is early access, I will not be showing an absolute ton. Just a few tidbits, a little bit of the game's features, and some of the game's versions. I want to give a massive thank you to both Atari and Digital Eclipse for this, and if you want to save yourself for when this game comes out, by all means, do not watch this video. However, to celebrate the fact that this game is nearly here, I want to show you some features, a little bit of gameplay, and go over some of the cool stuff that I've noticed already. The first thing I want to show off is Ultimate MK3 Wavenet, but only a small portion. The entire goal of this is not to show everything immediately before other people can access it. I just want to give you a basic idea and mostly demonstrate a little bit of Noob Saibot. Now, the audio for this video might be a little bit all over the place because the games do have like somewhat different audio to the menus and everything else, so please bear with me there. But before I pick Noob Saibot, let's have a look at some of these features. You've got your control options, you've got a adjustment for both finishing moves and blood levels, you have the ability to extend the round timers, fatality times, but importantly, shortcuts that allow you to pick certain characters without having to manually do it yourself. I will be using the Noob Saibot shortcut, hovering over Kano and just picking the character normally. It makes life a lot easier for people that don't want to constantly do the button inputs to pick the character that they want. Now, I will only be showing off Noob Saibot here, and by the way, there is a stage select, including Noob Saibot's Dolphin, which is really cool. And again, you'll notice that the game audio is slightly lower than the menu music, so hopefully that should still be perfectly fine for the game itself. With the shortcut, we will play as Noob Saibot immediately, and I didn't have to hold anything. I just picked Kano, and the game will take care of the rest. You'll notice I do have the on-screen inputs already enabled because it does make life a lot easier. And although there is no training mode for Wavenet, I do still have the unlimited timers, and because there is a instant rematch option, it will make things quicker anyway. So you can still somewhat lab characters and test things out, even if whatever version of the game you're playing doesn't have a dedicated training mode. A lot of the games do, however. So the only move that Noob Saibot has is Teleport Slam, down and up. He cannot perform this in the air, and it's very much like his kind of trilogy version and everything else where he's got to be on the ground to execute it. Now, similar to those versions, he can get combos from this. I'll talk about these combos a little bit later. However, for now, Noob Saibot does still have decent damage when he lands a teleport. Apologies for my voice, by the way. I've done a lot of traveling over the last month or so, and feeling a little bit under the weather as now we're entering winter territory in the UK. It's getting a bit cold and wet. Now, that's just one thing, is his teleport slam. I don't think that's too surprising that he only has one special move, to be honest with you. I think we have to remember that Noob Saibot very much is still a secret character, even if it is the Wavenet version. So him having the one move doesn't surprise me a huge amount, but what did surprise me was his forward walk speed. Noob Saibot kind of keeps his ridiculous walk speed that I think the boss version had, or the secret version had. Excuse me. Just had to cough there for a minute, but thanks to the editing, you didn't have to hear it. So, Noob Saibot, the walk speed is so strong and it allows certain combos to be much easier, mostly after juggles. So, things like walk forward, a lot more jabs and juggles than a lot of other characters will have access to, mostly because Noob just moves so bloody fast forward that he's able to do things that other characters can't in that respect. I want to go over his dialer combos though. The first one is a simple 5-hit, high punch, high kick, low kick, back high kick. 5 hits, 26% damage, not too shabby. He has a kick string as well, high kick, low kick, back high kick. A very simple kick string that quite a few characters often have in this kind of game. Not surprised that Noob Saibot has it as well. By the way, speaking of that instant rematch, we're straight back in. straight back into another match. So in the offline space, I think this is going to be really, really handy if people aren't constantly changing characters, which could happen in old Mortal Kombat. A lot of people like to do that. So there's some of his kick strings. A big string that you would have noticed a second ago is that he does actually have a launcher. High punch, low punch. A really simple 3-hit, and it results in the opponent, you know, taken to the sky, and you can do whatever kind of juggles you want to go for, whatever. So all of that works out quite nicely for him. He has a 4-hit launch as well, which is high punch, down low punch, down high punch. It's the exact same launch, but it has an extra hit in there. Now, although there is an extra hit attached to this, when we're talking about Noob Saibot's combos, I feel like it actually might end up being more optimal to just do the 3-hit for reasons I'm just about to demonstrate. Now, I don't want to go too in detail here because I do want people to explore this character themselves, but as he is a human ninja, he's got the jabs, the low punch, the sweep, the roundhouse, the uppercut, all of these buttons that all of the other ninjas are known for. He is obviously going to have those as well, but with the added utility of that extra fast walk speed that they don't have for the most part. When we're talking about doing combos with Teleport Slam, it seems to be all about hit limit, as in too many hits in a combo, his Teleport Slam will no longer connect. So knowing how many hits you are limited to helps you go for extra juggles. For example, if you open up with a teleport, jab teleport, that's as many as we can go for until the game will no longer let you do any more teleports, and we can work that into our combo game as well. For example, should you go for the 4-hit juggle and then teleport afterwards, we will be unable to go for another teleport and hold the combo as is, which still does decent damage, but you can get more damage if you purposefully go for a launch with 1 hit less. For example, and this will be the last thing I show for the Noob Saibot because I want people to explore it themselves. Go for the 3-hit launch, teleport. Shout out to Dan Forden. Enjoy your retirement, my friend. You have earned it. But you will notice there that by going for the teleport after the 3-hit juggle, I was actually able to get another teleport, which I wouldn't be able to do if the game, you know, if I'd gone for the 4-hit instead. So there's a few different possibilities for Noob Saibot here. I'm not able to play any PvP matches because this is the offline mode and I am here on my lonesome. However, as a basic introduction to Noob Saibot, no finishing moves, 1 special move, but definitely a game plan that can still work out, mostly built around the teleport because it's the only move that he's got. Excited to play him in actual PvP matches, for sure. But like I said, this is all of Wavenet I'm going to show off at the moment because I don't want to just uncover everything before people have the game themselves. So, early look at Noob, let's move on to some other features. So, the next thing I want to demonstrate is the game's built-in training mode. So certain games have training attached to them, and as you can see, Fatality training as well. So let's just do that first. Following the Fatality trainer, unlimited time, fatality distance on, which means you need to have the correct distance. 1 button fatality, which you can enable, which was actually a part of the cheat menu back in the day, and display input, all the regular stuff. So we're going to just pick a stage. Let's go random select. Let's go fight. All right, let's put us on Lost. Let's do a fatality that you probably haven't seen much. Let's pick Noob Saibot, but this time let's do the trilogy version. So the Fatality Trainer, very, very basic stuff. And as you can see, all the filters and everything else, I'm keeping it on for this portion just so you can see what they look like. But here's all the fatalities on the side. So let's do Fatality 1.
Wins.
Now let's see what else we're going to do. I'm going to try all of the fatalities. I've actually not used the Fatality Trainer before. It's definitely intuitive with showing you the ranges and everything else. Very much reminiscent of what the modern games tend to do, but the instant, you know, the instant rematch and everything else. Really like that. Let's try Animality. Anteater. I ain't gonna lie, that's one of my favorite animalities because it is so weird. It's good. Friendship. Didn't even get a strike.
Saibot.
Rubbish. Rubbish. Now, what I have been able to play a fair amount of already is the built-in training mode for certain games. For the purpose of demonstration, I'm just going to pick Mortal Kombat Trilogy, because I do assume that a lot of people will be trying to training mode this one, trying out some of the newer characters, and those that aren't in Ultimate MK3, you're probably going to want to, you know, practice the Rain Roundhouse Infinite and stuff like that, and this is very much how you do it, right? You got the options for controls, you can turn off or on the aggressor, you can have the chameleon shortcut, so you don't have to hold a bunch of different buttons on any of the male ninjas. We're going to pick just Rain here. I imagine that will be what quite a few people might try and do, is a lot of people know about Rain's Infinite, but it's always been a bit tricky to practice because, you know, getting access to a training mode isn't exactly the easiest thing back in the day. Whereas the training mode on first glance is very, very simple. Infinite time, infinite health. If you want to practice anything with Rain here, you can do so. Now, I haven't played Rain in a hot minute, so, you know, I ain't demonstrating nothing right now, I promise you. But this is the basic. It's all here. I've got the built-in move list on the screen already, so this is something you can easily just refer to and then do pretty much whatever it is you want to do. You know, do you want to go for a million mind control orbs? Well, that's completely up to you. Do you want to try and practice his super roundhouse kick infinite? Again, that's completely up to you as well. The main reason I wanted to show off the training mode isn't for this. This, you know, this is what it is. It's self-explanatory. What really interests me here is training options. It's not just a form of practicing combos. There's actually quite a few things you can do. Input latency to simulate network delay. That's something that's been in, you know, many games for quite a while. You can toggle things if you want. Health refill delay if you want to have a bigger look at how much damage your combos are doing. The really, really big ones for me on a first glance is action and action when damaged. You can set your opponent to do all kinds of things. You can make them replay, you can record, you can have it be a computer, you can do human training mode, which is going to be really good, I think, for just teaching people combos in real time. Let's say there's someone sitting next to you. Action, however, is where things get really interesting. If you want to practice certain things, you can absolutely do it. If you want to practice like an anti-air, you can make them jump, for example. He'll immediately start jumping, and you can practice whatever you want. If you want to learn the meta of something like Trilogy or Ultimate MK3, this is what I think is really interesting that they've put in. You can go block, that's fine. You know, you can just set them to block in any situation. Let's just set them to block normally, right? If I try and throw, my throw's going to come out. That's always been a bit tricky for practicing things like run jabs, because if they're point blank, you can't really practice run jabs because you'll just throw them. That's always been a constant issue for a lot of people trying to practice the meta of the game. However, if I go into training options, block and hold back. Now, you're probably wondering, why is that an option? That's really weird. Crouch, block, and hold back? Why would I do that? If you're holding back in these games, you cannot be thrown. This is a really, really useful tool for anyone that wants to learn the rushdown meta. Run jabs, run jabs, run jabs, close range strings to kind of, you know, try and crush those low poke interruptions, whatever else. The training mode essentially giving you the means to practice the rushdown of the game and other situations too. This is something that, frankly, I didn't expect to be in this game, and I'm really, really glad that it is, because if you're trying to teach anyone how to run jab, this is how you do it. You know, this is how you teach someone how to rush down. It's all in the training menu, it's all good to go, and overall, I think this should give you a really good starting point if you want to learn how to play a lot of these games properly. Seeing as Mythologies is in the collection, I'm going to try and do this first level without dying, and I'm going to promptly skip if I do manage to die, which is extremely likely. There we go. I was about to say, when's that going to go? Oh! The final thing I want to show in this early access video are some of the things that the team were able to do to Mortal Kombat 4. Now, even being able to get Mortal Kombat 4 arcade running digitally has always been something that, you know, anyone that has played Mortal Kombat 4 or has been part of the scene, you've always kind of heard and talked about that getting it digitally just hasn't really been viable. It's never really worked. It's never looked quite right. It's never quite played right. We are currently looking at arcade Mortal Kombat 4, you know, digitally for, I would say, the first time properly. So that on its first level is something that I think a lot of people were excited about, because so many of us were kind of forced to play the console versions, which, to give them their credit, really, really good versions, don't get me wrong. But the true arcade experience at home was kind of something that was never possible. It looks fine, right? It looks like Mortal Kombat 4. What interested a lot of us when they mentioned it is that if you go to additional settings, you can actually change the rendering scale to make the game cleaner. So I'm going to set it to 4 times, go right back into the game, and now everything's a lot more crisp. Everything just looks a lot smoother. I never thought we'd see this with the arcade version. It doesn't have that same level of, I suppose, blurriness and everything else, which from a visual standpoint, I really think is going to make this game just a lot more pleasant to play, to be honest with you. So this is something that when I play MK4, I think I'm always going to have it set to this mode. It looks way more reminiscent of almost like a Mortal Kombat Gold, which anyone that played Gold on the Dreamcast, you know, you'll know that that game was, yeah, it wasn't the greatest game in the world, but visually looked a lot better than console MK4. And it kind of seems like from an arcade standpoint, we now have pretty much the same visual experience, but in this collection. So I just wanted to show this as a last minute bonus. I'm very happy to see it in there. And overall, I think it's a really cool feature. Oh my god, and he fatalities as well. Come on. Show us. Show us the crispness. But overall, there's obviously a lot in this collection, there's a lot to go over, and it's not stuff I'm going to go over right now. This is an early access preview video, and I do not want to show the entire bag of things to people, because, you know, I want you to be able to play it yourself and experience it and have a good time. So, thank you all so much for watching if you did stick around. It's a bit redundant saying this, but if people chose not to watch this because they're waiting, that's totally fair enough, and I respect it and appreciate it. But overall, take care of yourselves, have a pleasant weekend, and good luck, have fun with the official release. I have videos planned that are currently in the works, but they will be launching when the game does. Thank you so much one more time, and I will see you next time.